going on, YouTube? Welcome back to YGO Podcast. I got another deck profile here for you. Got Magikey. I know you guys are looking forward to some unconventional decks to use in this format and just something to probably play at table 500. So without getting too far into the video, I hope you guys like the setup. This is brand new for me. So you guys are kind of in the YGO podcast lab right now. That's what this little corner video is for. And also for you guys that haven't ever seen my face, here I am. Yes, still fat, still black, still ready to, you know, well, not rap, but yeah, let's do some deck profiles, shall we? But before we get a little bit too far into it, again, please like, comment, subscribe, and we're going to try to pump out as many content videos as possible. I've got some crazy stuff planned. Hope you guys will like it. Let's get into the profile now. First off, this deck right here is if you don't like reading, if you don't like technicalities, you're going to hate this deck. Just because this deck has a lot of technicalities. You have to check quite a bit if you have the correct attributes. I know that this the main character here, this guy right here, you can see him, he's got a gun, right? And he's a vanilla monster. Pretty cool type of anime-ish style. Even his Xyz is roughly the same. He's dual wielding pistols. I mean, it's awesome. You would think it would be straightforward just like that, but it's not. The deck itself actually revolves around using attributes of normal monsters in your graveyard, attributes of normal monsters on your field, and also attached to certain monsters like your Xyz in order to get their effects off. And also they kind of they're constantly checking if your opponent has those attributes on their side of the field as well. That's how these cards get their effects. So let's go ahead and get into the deck profile and I'll show you how it works. All right, so we're going to be running triple Magikey Desperado guy, whatever his name is. Just kidding. Sky Blast, his name is Clavicus, the Sky Blaster. Vanilla monster, he has some flavor text. He's the main monster that you're going to be using in the deck. He's a level 4 warrior type monster. Highly searchable throughout the deck. I mean, damn near every card in this deck is going to search this card, so don't feel like you need to run any like reinforcement of the army or anything, but that's getting a little bit too far ahead. Let's go ahead and jump into the next set of monsters. You're gonna be running 3 of your magnificent Magikey Maftiel. So essentially this is the spirit of the pistol that the main character has, and this card is actually pretty decent. So for starters, all right, so he has a restriction on him, is that he cannot be used for XYZ fusion, ritual, or anything for unless it's for a Magikey monster. He can be used for a link summon though, crazy enough, but he cannot be used for XYZ, synchro, or fusion summon unless it's for a Magikey monster. You can reveal him in your hand in order to normal summon, in addition to your regular normal summon, a normal monster. It's either that or a Magikey monster. Then when he is normal summon, you can select either one Magikey monster or one normal monster from your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, and he can also select another copy of himself. So he has no restrictions based on that. So he's actually a pretty decent card. He's a pretty decent card. He's kind of what the deck really needs in order for it to operate. I still think that there should probably be one more main deck monster for this deck just to kind of get everything going. But, you know, nobody gives a damn what I think, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the third normal monster of the deck. You're going to be using Megalo Smasher X. Now, there is a reason why I am running a level 4 water dinosaur type monsters. I'm pretty sure you can see it. If you're a kind of seasoned, even if you're not even a seasoned Yu-Gi-Oh player, you kind of understand the importance of having a water attribute level 4 monsters. Nudge, Bahamut Shark, and then Toad, right? And then having a dinosaur attribute. Nudge, nudge. What dinosaurs have gotten some more support recently, right? So we're talking about Evolzars, right? So that we're talking about Logia, we're talking about Dolka. So it opens up a lot of different plays for the deck, and you're going to need this attribute typing and level and everything else and type. So it's pretty decent in my opinion. Definitely run 3 of them. You're going to need all 3, and you're going to be going into XYZ, Ritual, Fusion, and all kinds of different plays. So then you're going to be running 2 of your Magikey, the Borrow. Oh my goodness, he's got a long name. It's the Batos Buster. So essentially, you can play 3 of this card. However, I'm only playing 2 just because everything in this deck is highly searchable. Now, this card is pretty much the bread and butter of the deck. I will say that, okay? I will say that. It is the bread and butter of the deck because on Ritual Summon, it is first of all, it's a level 4 ritual. And then you can Ritual Summon this monster pretty much straight out of the deck with a lot of different cards that we have that you'll see later on in the deck profile. But this card actually on Ritual Summon, it can search a Magikey card and add it to your hand. And then it's got quite a few other effects. So let me go ahead and read them because, you know, reading is hard. So essentially on Ritual Summon, it does search you a card. It's on Ritual Summon, you can add 1 Magikey card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Magikey once per turn. Once per turn, when an attack is declared involving this card in an opponent's monster that has the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey monster in your graveyard, you can place any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck. And if you do, negate the effects of that opponent's monster until the end of this turn, then draw the same amount of cards placed under the deck. So he's essentially a mulligan. He's a mulligan, which is a very strange effect to have on a ritual monster, especially one in this archetype. I always found it very, very, very strange for this card. And, you know, it's good, but it works only during the battle. That's the thing. So most people will just Ritual Summon this using your vanilla monster since it's a level 4 and search their card and then just kind of go into their plays, whether they're XYZ plays or whatever the case may be. But it still has a mulligan effect during the battle phase, which can come up at some time, you know, during whatever games that you're playing. So then you're going to be playing 1 of your he's kind of a big boy, just kind of has a kind of a nice chunky butt on him. Let me move myself out the way here. Let me see if I can kind of minimize myself and get a little bit smaller there. Perfect. All right. So his name is Gales Glazer or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the heck this guy's name is. Yeah, Gears Glazer. Anyway, it says when you Ritual Summon this card with Magikey Mafia, it gains 300 attack for each different attributes in your graveyard. You can use each of the following effects of Magikey Gears Glazer once per turn. When your opponent activates an effect of a monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard, if at least 2 attributes of monsters were used for this card's Ritual Summon, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this Ritual Summon monster is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Magikey monster from your deck to your hand. So as you can see, you can use him to go into link plays, and when he's sent to the graveyard, especially if he's been Ritual Summon, he can search you out another Magikey monster and add it to your hand from the deck. Then not only that, he kind of has a negation effect, especially if your opponent is going to be using attributes that you have in your graveyard, which is why it's good to diversify your monster lineup, which is why I feel like there needs to be a fire or wind Magikey monster, or you can even put fire and wind normal type monsters in your deck. I prefer to kind of play a little bit more consistently. You could run 2 of the main deck monsters and then try to find room. There is room in this deck for improvement. So yeah, that's going to be the next card we're going to be using is our new from the Maze of Memory Black Luster Soldier. And you pretty much, if you're not familiar with what this card does, this card is essentially generic ritual support. You can give up your draw to reveal it in your hand to add one ritual spell card from your deck. Then if it's been ritual summoned, and if it was ritual summoned using a normal monster, and it attacks during the battle phase and it destroys a monster, I believe, you can banish all of your opponent's cards. All right, banish all their cards on the field. So let me just go ahead and verify that. Yeah, you can shuffle, excuse me, not banish, shuffle all cards your opponent controls into the deck. So this, even if this is just kind of a detrimental type of play, right? If your opponent is playing some type of back row stuff, if they cannot stop an attack from going through, they're shuffling everything back. They're going to lose quite a bit of resources, especially if you drop this on them at an opportune time. All right. So this is going to be pretty much the main monster lineup. Let's go ahead and make some room for our spells. We've got some Magikey spells coming through. And yeah, so we're going to be playing 3 of your Magikey World. So Magikey World will search you out a Magikey monster or a Magikey Mafia and add it to your hand upon activation. It also prevents the destruction by battle of a normal monster, of a normal non-token monster. And then I believe during your main phase, you can activate the effect. So on activation, you can search out a Magikey monster and add it from your deck to your hand. Then during the main phase, you can activate the second search effect, which is you can add a Magikey Mafia from your deck to your hand. Then it also prevents destruction of normal non-token monsters. So pretty decent field spell. It does quite a bit, especially for this specific archetype. Then you're going to be playing 3 of your Magikey Mafia. And Mafia essentially is just your, it's your ritual, fusion, and synchro summon card. Well, not technically synchro summon, but it's definitely your ritual and fusion summon card. And you're going to need this for your strategy just because you cannot play the game, or this deck at least, without it. So then you're going to be playing 1 of your Magikey Battle. And Magikey Battle, essentially, you're going to activate this card. Its effect has to be activated in response. It doesn't technically have to be, but essentially you're going to shuffle 1 Magikey monster or 1 Magikey Mafia from your graveyard back into your deck. Then what you do is you're going, if it was activated in response to a card effect or activation, all of your normal type monsters. Let me read this card. Let me read this card. These cards have such strange effects. And then it says, yeah, Magikey, it says normal monsters and Magikey monsters you control are unaffected by that opponent's card effect. So in theory, how do you use this, right? If your opponent activates Dark Ruler No More and you have normal monsters and Magikey monsters on the field, you can activate Magikey Battle. Now your monsters are unaffected by Dark Ruler No More. Who would have thought, right? A card that's in archetype that actually stops cards like Dark Ruler No More. And then you're going to be running 3 of your unexpected die. I'm pretty sure you expected this. I think, you know, contrary to its name, we expected if we're running normal monsters, we're running unexpected die. Then you want to play your Preparation of Rites. I mean, this is a ritual deck, ritual, fusion, synchro, whatever. You're going to run Preparation of Rites. And then for some tech choices, you're going to run Advanced Ritual Art. And then you're going to run, I'm sorry, you're going to be running, yeah, that is Advanced Ritual Art. And then you'll be running, what is this? High Ritual Art. So Advanced Ritual Art will allow you to, ritual summon by using normal monsters from your deck. A ritual monster that's in your hand, but it has to be the exact number. High Ritual Art will allow you to ritual summon a monster, sending normal monsters from your deck, I believe, to the grave as well. But and you can go over the amount of the ritual monster, I believe, and then it has to return itself back to the hand, bitch. I believe, afterwards. So let's go ahead and read this because obviously I don't know shit. So let's go ahead and read this. It said this card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster from your deck. So even better, right? So if you have that Blackluster Soldier that's in your deck, and you got this card in your hand, it's like, well, I got a freebie here. And then it says you must also tribute normal monsters from your hand whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. Shuffle that ritual monster into the deck during your opponent's end phase. You can only activate one high ritual art once per turn. So as you can see, that's pretty good, especially for this archetype. So let's make some room. Let's move on to the rest of the deck. You're going to be running one instant fusion. We do have a level 4 fusion monster that we're going to be using here. Then we're going to be running one Magikey duo. Magikey duo just essentially grabs you a Magikey monster from your graveyard, adds it back to your hand upon activation. Then it allows you to either ritual or fusion summon using monsters you control on the field. Then we're going to be using Magikey unlocking, and this is if you control a Magikey extra deck monster on the field, then you can negate a spell or trap. Kind of subpar, that's why we're only running one. Then we're going to be playing our consistency cards and our battle cards, right? Stuff that's going to help us out in the long run. We're going to be playing 3 Ash Blossoms. That's standard. We also need consistency, so I'm sure you saw this one coming as well. You're going to be playing Pot of Prosperity. You're going to be playing Impermanence, Triple Imperm, and then, of course, what did you, drum roll please? Yep, Call by the Grave. So that's what you're going to be playing for the main deck. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the extra deck. Extra deck is pretty fun as well. The extra deck has a lot of different extra. I'm going to be reading for about 1,000,000 years for this, but you're going to be running one of this Vespartu. This is going to be the extra deck monster, the Magikey Spirit. I'm just going to go ahead and read this one. I'm not going to even attempt to try to remember its effect. It's easier when you're looking at it online and things like that. You know, it's much easier because you could just look at the effect and be like, oh yeah, that's right. But when you're trying to recite these things by memory, so it just requires 2 level 4 monsters. If this card is XYZ summon, you can detach 1 material from this card, add 1 level 4 or higher normal monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If this card has a normal monster as material, it gains this effect. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey monster in your graveyard, you can detach 1 material from this card. Your opponent must send that monster to the graveyard. I can't tell you how incredibly valuable this is, or that's going to be in the future. And the reason why I say that is because some of the most powerful combos in the game, like getting to Dragoon, right? Getting to Dragoon, and I've even thought about placing other types of like fusion monsters in here that require vanillas and other things like that. But mainly what sticks out to me is that it can search Dark Magician, it can search Red Eyes Black Dragon, it can search quite a few strange cards. It sticks out to me that, you know, it's great in terms of that. So just keep that under your hat. Maybe that's some information you can use when you're deck building your version of this Magikey deck. So you're going to be running 2 Magikey Fiends. You need a Magikey Tuner monster and then I think normal monsters as the material. So kind of hard for you to make it. Very specific requirements. It is not splashable in other decks whatsoever. I do know that it attacks twice during the battle phase, and then it also has an effect to blow things up. So let's go ahead and read this card just because we need to read it, right? This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. You can only use each of the following effects of Magikey Fiend once per turn. If this card you control was synchro summoned using at least 2 attributes of monsters. So now, not only do you need to use a Magikey Tuner and 1 or more non-tuner monsters, they need to be different attributes, at least 2, right, to get its full effect. It says using at least 2 attributes, you can set 1 Magikey spell or trap directly from your deck to the spell and trap zone. If your opponent normal or special summons a monster with the same attribute as monsters in your monster in your graveyard. So this one doesn't even care whether they're normal monsters or effect monsters. It just says, hey, as a monster in the graveyard, it says except during the damage step, it says you can destroy that monster. So essentially he becomes a floodgate for your opponent. He just starts popping stuff. Not a bad card. Not a bad card. Then you're going to be running one of these guys. This card, in my opinion, it says draw one card at the end. All right. It says draw one card. I think it's pretty decent. Okay. It's not horrifyingly bad. It's just there. It's just there because it's a name, right? And it's also a wind type monster. So, you know, it kind of helps out with the Magikey Fiend effect, but let's go ahead and read it. And essentially what it needs is, for a fusion, it needs a Magikey effect monster and one normal monster, except a token. It says when this card is fusion summoned, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, they're not going to activate Bottomless Trap Hole or whatever, usually as a response to this. But afterwards they can do whatever. Once per turn, you can target one normal monster or Magikey monster in your graveyard. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls with that monster's attribute. Once per turn, if an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard is destroyed by battle or card effect, if this card was fusion summoned using two different attributes as material, you can draw one card. So now you also need to fusion summon two monsters of different attributes, right? Kind of a pain in the rear, in my opinion. And then for your last Magikey monster, you'll be using the level 4 fusion monster. Let's go ahead and read this really fast. This one has, I think, the least amount of text as opposed to the others. So it's a level 4 beast type monster, requires one Magikey monster, one normal monster. So this fusion summon card, you can add one Magikey Maftia from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use this effective Magikey beast once per turn. Once per turn, you can target one attack position monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey monster in your graveyard. Change it to defense position, and if you do, it loses 1,000 defense. Banish any monster destroyed by battle with this card, and it has 2,200 attack points, so it's not getting over very much. So as you can see, the cards are very heavily reliant on attributes, controlling what attributes you have in the graveyard, what attributes Magikey monsters that you do have. It needs more support. The deck is completely unfinished, in my opinion. You can run it much better, but it needs more attribute warping stuff, cards that can count as multiple different attributes while they're in the graveyard, while they're on the field, stuff like that. That is what's going to make this deck, that's what's going to make this deck really shine. And it's possibly going to need probably one or two more extra deck monsters that actually really make a difference in order for it to be good, in my opinion. But then you're going to be running your basic package, Nightmare Unicorn, one IP Masquerena. And then, of course, because we run fusion monsters, we're going to be running one Cross Sheep. And then we're going to be running one Link Spider because we have normal monsters in this deck. So it makes it easier to special summon them and get them out of your hand. One Link Haribo, right? And then we're going to be running a Bahamut Shark. And as you guessed it, we're going to be running one Totally Awesome. Then we're going to be running one Lagia, one Dolka, and then one Dugarista Timeless. So guys, if you enjoyed the deck profile, please check out some other videos that we have on the channel. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, leave them down below on the video. I always read all the comments. Thank you guys for joining the conversation once again at YGO Podcast. Hope you enjoy the new setup. This is how we're going to be doing things from now on. I really hope that I can keep your business. If you're still here tuning in with us, please subscribe to the channel. I'd highly appreciate it. I'll catch you guys at the next conversation. Peace out.